A ramshackle former fishmonger's shop on a cobbled street in Rye. A hastily painted sign. Pirate's Treasure. Video rentals and rare finds. Hangs crookedly. The S in treasure is falling off. Inside, through the grimy window, we see shelves overflowing with VHS tapes, some piled precariously. Spuds MacKenzie, in his olive green trench coat and Hawaiian shirt, is wrestling with a banner. He's got a cigarette perpetually tucked behind his ear. Joe Camel, coolly leaning against the doorframe, sunglasses firmly on, takes a long drag from a cigarette. He exhales a plume of smoke, a picture of nonchalant sleaze. Spuds, right, that's it. Prime real estate. Prime product. We're gonna be absolutely rolling in it. Joe. Rolling. Joe Camel. Geordie accent. Spuds. Rolling in. Well, hopefully in money, not in this shite stack o' tapes. Ye nearly took me eye out with that banner, man. Spuds. Artistic flair. Mate, you wouldn't understand. This is entrepreneurship. This is the future. Video rental. It's an untapped market. Joe Camel. Untapped cuz everyone's got streaming. Ye daft sod. These tapes are older than me granddad's false teeth. And twice as dodgy. Spuds finally gets the banner. Grand opening. All the hits mostly. To hang. It's still crooked. Spuds. Details. Joe. Details. We've got pirated classics from '89. The Golden Age. And a bonus section of miscellaneous children's tapes. Think of the niche appeal. Parents desperate for 5 minutes peace. Nostalgia hounds. It's genius. He gestures proudly to a shelf crammed with poorly labeled VHS tapes. Many are clearly old Children's Hospital donated tapes, with faded stickers that say property of St. Jude's Wing or donated by. One particular tape, nestled between the adventures of Spot and Noddy Goes to Toyland, has a very plain, handwritten label, A Private Collection. Across the street, at the Three Gables pub, Daniel Nate is wiping down the bar. He watches Spuds and Joe with a bemused, weary expression. The pub is quiet. Daniel, muttering to himself, a video rental shop, in Rye. What fresh hell is this? At least it's not another artisanal pickle stand run by a talking badger. Bill Clutterbuck, a weather-beaten old lighthouse keeper, is sitting at a corner table, nursing a pint. Bill, Dorset accent. Fresh hell? Nay, lad. Just Spuds and Joe trying to turn sand into gold again. Never lasts long, their ventures. Like a moth to a flame. Bless 'em. Daniel, you'd think they'd learn. Or at least try something. Legal. Bill, legal? Where's the fun in that? This is Rye. Daniel, we do things different. Back at Pirate's Treasure, Spuds is sorting through a box of tapes, humming off key. Joe lights another cigarette. Joe Camel. So, just to be clear, these children's tapes are from where, exactly? The back of a lorry? A charity skit? Spuds. The provenance is fluid. Joe. Let's just say they were looking for a new home. A loving, paying home. And some of those hospital ones, well, they've got educational value. Or at least, they used to. He pulls out a tape. It's a copy of Labyrinth with a faded sticker. Property of Alder Hey Children's Hospital. Spuds. See. David Bowie. Educational. Joe just shakes his head, taking another drag. The shop is now officially open. The air is thick with the smell of old plastic, dust, and Joe's cigarette smoke. Greg, a nervous, unassuming man in his early 40s, peers through the window. He wears a slightly stained beige cardigan and carries a canvas tote bag. He seems to be summoning courage. He pushes open the door. A small bell dings. Greg, hello, is this a video shop? Spuds, beaming, rubbing his paws together. Indeed it is, my good man. Pirate's Treasure, at your service. Spuds MacKenzie, entrepreneur extraordinaire. And this is my esteemed business partner, Joe. Joe just nods, still leaning. He points a hoof at a sign that reads no smoking, then gestures to his own cigarette. Greg, oh, right. I was looking for something wholesome. My mum, you see, she likes a nice nature documentary, or a gentle cartoon. Something for the evening. Spuds, wholesome. You've come to the right place. We've got wholesome, or, adjacent. Check out our family-friendly section. Top shelf. Right next to the '89 pirated blockbusters. Greg nervously shuffles towards the children's tape section. He eyes the A Private Collection tape with apprehension. He picks up the Wombles in Wimbledon. Greg, oh, the Wombles. They're educational, aren't they? About recycling. Joe Camel, monotone. Very educational. Unless it's a pirated copy of the Wombles. Uncut. You never know with Spuds stock. Spuds glares at Joe. Spuds. Pay no mind to the cynic, sir. Pure quality. Greg puts down the Wombles tape. His eye drifts to the A Private Collection tape again. There's something intriguing about its plainness. Its lack of obvious content. It feels adult, somehow, in its understated label. Greg, what about this one? A Private Collection, is it? Rare? An unseen classic? Spuds glances at it. He vaguely remembers chucking it in with a batch of hospital tapes. He has no idea what's on it. Spuds. Rare? Oh, rare as hen's teeth. My friend. Unseen. A true connoisseur's choice. Probably a forgotten gem. Art house. Perhaps. Or a very exclusive documentary on competitive knitting. £5 rental. Greg. £5? For a knitting documentary? Spuds. Waving a dismissive hand. Art house. Greg. Art house. The emotional depth of a well-executed pearl stitch. The drama of a dropped pickup. Priceless. Greg hesitates, then nods. The mystery appeals to his quiet, sheltered life. Greg, okay, I'll take it. A Private Collection. Spuds beams, processing the transaction with a rusty old receipt book. Joe blows a smoke ring. Joe Camel, enjoy your private viewing, pal. Greg pays, clutching the tape with a mix of excitement and trepidation. He thanks them and shuffles out. The bell dings again. Spuds counts the £5 with glee. Spuds, first sale, and a high roller at that. We're practically millionaires. Joe. Constance, the humanoid duck woman with luscious strawberry blonde hair, is window shopping. She's barefoot, humming cheerfully. She carries a small, woven picnic basket. She looks around, momentarily distracted by a particularly shiny pebble. A car drives by. Suddenly, her eyes widen. She stops humming. The picnic basket drops, spilling a couple of perfectly ripe strawberries onto the pavement. She reaches into her dress pocket. A look of dawning horror spreads across her otherwise perpetually serene face. She checks another pocket, frantically, then another. Her hair starts to frizz ever so slightly. Constance. Oh no. Oh no no no. Not my special tape. She thinks back. She'd put it in her collection of sensitive materials, which was for convenience in a box disguised as children's tapes. A box she recently decided to clear out for donation to a children's hospital. Her eyes dart across the street. She sees the new Pirate's Treasure sign, and then a fleeting image of Greg exiting the shop, clutching her plain labeled tape. Constance's ditzy smile slowly morphs into a grimace. The strawberry blonde hair seems to crackle with an unseen energy. Her normally serene eyes narrow into furious slits. Constance. Those filthy pirates, they have no idea what they've done. A low growl emanates from deep within her. It's not quite a duck quack, more like a predatory rumble. The ground trembles faintly. Spuds is attempting to juggle 3 pirated copies of Ghostbusters 2. Joe is trying to teach him how to blow smoke rings, with limited success. The shop is still empty. Spuds. See. Joe. The trick is in the wrist, and the air current. Joe Camel. The trick, Spuds, is in not setting fire to the shop with your clumsy paws. Suddenly, the door bursts open, sending the bell flying off its hinge. Constance stands silhouetted in the doorway, her hair now a wild, untamed halo. Her eyes glow with a fierce, terrifying intensity. She looks less like a ditzy duck woman and more like an avenging fury. Constance, voice dangerously low, a tremor of rage beneath the surface. You, too, scum of the earth. Tape thieving. Pirates. Spuds drops the tapes. They clatter to the floor. Spuds. Nervous laugh. Constance. My darling. To what do we owe the pleasure? Did you fancy a classic? Maybe a bit of Back to the Future? Constance. You stole it. You stole my private collection. The one marked A Private Collection. Joe Camel. Shrugging. We rented it out to a bloke. £5. Good earner. That. What's the problem? Doll. Is it a rare 89 anime? Constance lets out a blood-curdling scream that makes the old VHS tapes vibrate on their shelves. Constance. A rare 89 anime. It's my sex tape. You imbeciles. My personal, private, adult memories. Now someone is going to see me. Spuds and Joe freeze, eyes wide. The color drains from Spud's face, turning his white fur an unhealthy shade of gray. Joe even takes his sunglasses off, revealing eyes like saucers. Spuds, whispering, her what now? Constance, advancing, her voice rising to a furious crescendo. My sex tape, the one from my wilder days, with the feather boa, and the whipped cream. This is my secret, and you too, you are going to pay. She lunges, a blur of strawberry blonde hair and enraged duck woman. She's surprisingly fast. Spuds yelps. Joe immediately vaults over the counter, abandoning his cigarette. Joe Camel, run. Spuds, ye daft git, run. She's gonna skin us alive. Spuds, scrambling, tripping over a pile of tapes. But the feather boa, the whipped cream. Constance picks up a heavy, vintage VCR from the counter. She brandishes it like a weapon. Constance, you'll be tasting my whipped cream. All right, my whipped cream of fury. Spuds and Joe scramble out of the shop. Constance hot on their heels, swinging the VCR. The sound of crashing tapes and a furious, avian-tinged roar echoes down the street. The chase is on. Spuds and Joe sprint down the cobbled street, weaving through bewildered pedestrians. Constance, despite her bare feet, is gaining on them, swinging the VCR. Spuds, panting. She's surprisingly agile for a ditzy duck. Joe Camel, looking over his shoulder. She's got the rage o' 1,000 suns, man, and a VCR. They narrowly dodge Pat Clifton's bright red Postman Pat van, which swerves to avoid them. Pat honks. Pat Clifton, whoa there, fellas. What's the rush? Deliveries won't wait. Constance, screaming, wind whipping her hair. I'm going to turn them into duck pate, and then serve it with a side of their own pirated films. Pat Clifton, confused. Duck pate? Goodness gracious. Around the corner, Toad is testing out a new unicycle, attempting a flamboyant wheelie. He nearly collides with the fleeing trio. Toad, annoyed, regaining balance. Watch it, you ruffians. One mustn't interrupt a gentleman's daring new sport. He sees Constance, VCR in hand, eyes blazing. His annoyance instantly turns to intrigue. Toad, ooh, a chase. How exhilarating. Is this a new trend? I must join in. He attempts to chase after them on his unicycle, wobbling precariously. Sam Payton, in his yellow helmet and black tunic, is checking a fire hydrant down the street. He sees the commotion and immediately springs into action. Sam Payton, Welsh accent. Right then, what's all this fuss about? Looks like someone's got their knickers in a twist. He pulls out a small, foldable net from his belt, usually used for rescuing cats from trees. Dick Spanner PI emerges from a shadowed alleyway, trench coat flapping. He observes the scene with a detached, clinical air, pulling out a small notebook and pen without a single mechanical whir. Dick Spanner PI, deep, gravelly voice. Another day, another case for the ledger of human folly. Or in this case, a duck humanoid folly. Motive, unknown. Weapon, archaic home entertainment system. Suspects, 2-bit bootleggers. The plot thickens, like expired gravy. Godfrey, the pessimistic horse, is being led by Corky down the street. Corky holds a bouquet of dandelions. Godfrey, Yorkshire accent. Look at them. All that fuss. Probably over a dropped pasty. Humans, or whatever they are, never happy unless they're running about like headless chickens. Corky, head corkscrew wobbles. Headless chickens. Are they tasty? Godfrey, Spuds and Joe duck into an alleyway. Constance skids to a halt, then follows. Greg's attic room is a shrine to mundane domesticity. Neatly stacked magazines, a small, slightly dusty television, and a very old VCR. He carefully unboxes his new rental, a private collection. Greg places the tape into the VCR with almost ceremonial reverence. He sits on a worn armchair, adjusting his glasses. He's excited, innocent, utterly oblivious to the mayhem he's unleashed. Greg, a private collection, a forgotten gem. I wonder what wonders await me. Perhaps a silent film of a butterfly emerging, or a detailed exploration of different types of moss. He presses play. The VCR whirs to life. The screen flickers. Daniel is behind the bar, looking out at the chaotic street. Bill Clutterbuck sips his pint. Daniel shakes his head. Daniel, I've seen some things working here, but a furious duck woman chasing 2 con artists with a VCR? That's a new one. Bill Clutterbuck shakes his head slowly. Constance, bless her heart. She's usually as sweet as treacle, but you mess with her secrets well, you best steer clear of her feathers. Supertid zips in through an open window, landing lightly on the bar. Supertid, oh dear, there's a right kerfuffle out there. Constance is terribly angry. Dawdle, the bay's donkey, trots in, looking flustered. Dawdle, I saw the whole thing. It's that tape, the one that Spuds and Joe rented out. It's Constance's private adult footage. And that poor man, Greg, he's got it. Daniel nearly drops a glass. Daniel, her sex tape. Oh good lord. Sam Payton, entering, looking grim. It's true. She's threatening to turn them both into duck pate. We need to get that tape back before Greg watches it. Imagine the embarrassment for Constance. Pat Clifton, entering, breathless. And imagine the embarrassment for Greg. A nice, quiet chap like him, expecting wombles and getting that. Dawdle, we have to act quickly. The intellectual property implications alone are staggering. And the sheer awkwardness. Supertid, but how do we get it? Constance is still chasing Spuds and Joe, and Greg lives in his mum's attic. She's fiercely protective of his privacy. Bill Clutterbuck, taking a thoughtful sip. We need a plan. A proper right plan. Something involving a bit o' stealth, a bit o' gumption, and a fair bit o' distraction. Barney, the old English sheepdog, ambles in, looking excited. Barney, did someone say plan? And excitement? Is there a chance for ME to be the hero? Perhaps a dramatic rescue, ending with a round of applause? Dawdle, rolling her eyes. Barney, this isn't about fame. This is about preventing a social catastrophe. Daniel, okay, everyone calm down. We need to get the tape from Greg, discreetly, before he watches it, and before Constance catches Spuds and Joe. How far along is Greg likely to be? Sam Payton, he only just rented it. Probably still in the title sequence. But time is of the essence. Sfrand Kaz and Corky enter, looking bewildered. Sfrand Kaz carries a tree branch over his shoulder. Sfrand Kaz, Russian accent. We hear much shouting. Is glorious battle. Sfrand Kaz is ready to smash puny enemies. Who is puny enemy this time? Corky points a corkscrew finger towards the general direction of Greg's house. Lady with angry feathers. Very fast. Like a bouncy ball. Dawdle, Sfrand Kaz. Corky. Perfect. We need your strength. Not for smashing, but for persuading. We need to get into Greg's house without alarming his mother. Sfrand Kaz. Persuade? Sfrand Kaz persuasion usually involve blunt force and screams. Is that acceptable? Daniel, sighs. Let's try to avoid screams for now. Sfrand Kaz. Greg's house is a quaint, semi-detached cottage with a well-tended garden. A single light glows in the attic window. A motley crew has assembled. Spuds and Joe, looking disheveled and terrified, are hiding behind a bush. Constance is pacing nervously at the end of the street, still fuming, occasionally letting out an angry squawk. Spuds, whispering, she hasn't given up. She's like a really angry, feathered Terminator. Joe Camel, this is worse than that time we tried to sell fake designer socks to a biker gang. At least they only broke our legs. She'll break our dignity and our legs. Daniel, Sam, Dawdle, Super Ted, Bill, Pat, Corky, and Sfrand Kaz are huddled together. Dawdle, quietly, plotting. Right, the plan. Super Ted, you create a diversion on the roof. Something loud and impossible to ignore. Pat, you deliver a fake telegram to Mrs. Gregg, keeping her occupied. Sam, you're on lookout. Corky, Sfrand Kaz, you two are the entry team. Gently, mind you. Sfrand Kaz, flexing. Sfrand Kaz ready. What is gently? Is like soft punch? Dawdle, exasperated. No smashing. Sfrand Kaz. Corky, you're in charge of making sure he doesn't smash. Daniel, Bill, you're backups. Spuds, Joe, stay hidden. Spuds, from the bush. You don't have to tell me twice. Super Ted, with a whoosh, rockets up to the roof. He tinkers with the chimney, then unleashes a powerful, high-pitched squeal, followed by a shower of bright sparks. Mrs. Gregg, OS, Shrill. Inside the house. Good heavens. The chimney's exploding. Gregory, are you watching that awful television again? Pat Clifton, clipboard in hand, knocks on the front door. Mrs. Gregg, a stern woman in a floral apron, opens it, looking distressed. Pat Clifton, evening. Mrs. Gregg, special delivery, urgent telegram. Mrs. Gregg, a telegram? Oh dear, is it about Gregory's prize-winning marrow? He's been so proud. While Pat distracts Mrs. Gregg, Corky and Sfrandkaz approach the back door. Corky carefully tries the handle. It's locked. Corky, whispering, locked. Sfrandkaz, grinning, locked. For Sfrandkaz, this is mere suggestion. He winds up, but Corky quickly puts a hand on his chest. Corky, firmly, gently. Dawdle said gently. Corky, with surprising delicacy, reaches up and removes a loose brick from the wall next to the door. He then inserts his corkscrew head into the gap, deftly twisting the lock mechanism from the inside. The door clicks open. Corky, proudly, gently, they slip inside. Daniel and Bill follow cautiously. Just then, Constance, hearing the commotion from the house, lets out another furious squawk. She charges towards the house. Spuds and Joe, still in the bush, groan. Spuds, oh no, we're doomed. We're utterly, totally, completely doomed. Greg is still watching. The screen now shows the start of the A Private Collection tape. Fuzzy, slightly grainy footage. A slow pan across a dimly lit room. Soft jazz music begins to play. He blinks, adjusting his glasses. Greg, very atmospheric. Perhaps it's an experimental film. Very European. Corky and Sfrandkaz quietly creep upstairs, followed by Daniel and Bill. They reach the attic door. Corky gently pushes it open. They see Greg, mesmerized by the screen. The footage is now showing a pair of bare feet, slowly moving. Then, a feather boa drifts into view. Greg, muttering, feathers? Is it a documentary about exotic birds? Or perhaps the mating rituals of some obscure species? Just as a familiar strawberry blonde head with luscious hair starts to come into frame, Daniel lunges. Daniel, Greg, don't look. He dives, frantically trying to hit the stop button on the VCR. Daniel's dive takes out Greg's small television. It crashes to the floor, sparking. Greg yelps, Greg, my television, and my exotic bird documentary. Daniel, scrambling up, tape in hand. Trust me, Greg, it was not exotic birds. At that precise moment, Constance, having burst through the back door, Sfrandkaz and Corky forgot to relock it, storms into the attic. Her hair is wilder than ever, eyes blazing. She's no longer holding the VCR, but a large, antique meat cleaver pilfered from Mrs. Gregg's kitchen. Constance, a terrifying, guttural roar. Where is it? Where is my embarrassment? Spuds and Joe, having crept in behind Constance, see the cleaver and whimper. Spuds, to Joe, oh, she's upgraded from VCR to weaponry. This is bad, Joe. Very, very bad. Joe Camel, eyes wide. The feather boa was just the appetizer. Spuds, now she's going for the main course. Constance spots Daniel holding the tape. She lets out another shriek and lunges. Cleaver raised. Constance, you, give me my tape. Daniel, a new father, has surprised reflexes. He dodges, holding the tape aloft. Daniel, whoa, it's okay. Constance, I've got it. It's safe. No one saw anything. Greg, still clutching his head from the TV crash, looks utterly bewildered. Greg, my exotic bird documentary, and now an angry woman with a cleaver. What's happening? Super Ted, having zipped through the attic window, sees the cleaver. Super Ted, up and away. This calls for Super Ted. He zooms towards Constance, trying to gently disarm her. She swats at him, her rage making her surprisingly strong. The cleaver clangs off his rocket boot. Dawdle pushes past Bill and Sfrandkaz, trotting towards Daniel. Dawdle, Daniel, give me the tape. I'll secure it. Daniel tosses the tape to Dawdle. She snags it neatly in her mouth. It's a base donkey, after all. Constance, eyes now on Dawdle. You, bale-eating bovine. Dawdle, muffled, holding the tape. I'm an equid, actually, and I'm not giving this back until you calm down. Sfrandkaz, seeing the general melee, finally finds a purpose. Sfrandkaz. Ah. Now Sfrandkaz understand. This is glorious fight for small, flat object. Sfrandkaz will engage. He tries to tackle Constance, who surprisingly sidesteps him. Sfrandkaz crashes into a stack of Greg's neatly folded underwear. Toad, Barney, Nat, and Trip burst into the attic, having circumvented Pat Clifton at the front door. Toad, breathless. What a grand spectacle. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Barney, standing on two legs, holding a camcorder he found. This is it. My big break. Barney the hero, capturing the climax of the great tape heist. Nat, pogoing on a spring he found. Chaos. Lovely chaos. Get M. Consty. Show M who's boss. Trip, spinning on his skateboard, blasting punk music from a portable speaker. The soundtrack to Anarchy. Skulls and Good Times. Dick Spanner PI enters, surveys the scene, and sighs, marking in his notebook, scene of the crime, a veritable circus. Contributing factors, general idiocy, stolen adult film, and a surprising amount of animal-human hybrids. Constance, seeing Dawdle with the tape, makes a final, desperate lunge. Dawdle, surprisingly agile, dodges, but the cleaver snips a corner of the tape. Dawdle, gasps, my goodness, she nearly sliced it. Constance, eyes wide, if I can't have it, nobody can. She brings the cleaver down again, aiming for the tape, but just as it's about to connect, Corky, with a surprising burst of speed, steps in front of Dawdle. The cleaver thuds against Corky's corkscrew head. Nothing happens. Corky blinks. Corky, ow, that tickled. Constance stares, aghast, at her bent cleaver. Constance, but metal. Corky, shrugs. Cork. Very strong cork. This momentary distraction is all the others need. Sam Payton, having entered with Kathy and Carmel Bunny, swiftly snatches the tape from Dawdle. Sam Payton, smoothly, right, that's enough of that. Tape secured. Game over. Constance. He holds the tape up, then tucks it into a fireproof pouch. Constance stares at Sam, her rage slowly draining, replaced by bewildered exhaustion. She looks at the bent cleaver, then at Corky, then at Spuds and Joe, who are cowering behind the underwear stack. Constance, my tape, it's safe. Sam Payton, safe and sound. No one has seen anything. Well, except for. He gestures vaguely to the smashed television and the chaos of the room. Greg, slowly comprehending, looks around the ruined attic and then at the group of bizarre individuals. Greg, so, it wasn't an exotic bird documentary? Daniel, placing a hand on Greg's shoulder. No, Greg, it really wasn't. Constance suddenly drops the cleaver. It clangs harmlessly. She touches her hair, which is slowly settling back down. Constance, returning to her ditzy self, a slight blush on her cheeks. Oh dear, did I make a fuss? I do get a bit carried away when my privacy is invaded. My apologies, everyone. And Greg, so sorry about your, whatever that was. She casts a withering, but now more subdued, glare at Spuds and Joe. Constance, as for you two, I'm not going to turn you into pate. Not today. But if I ever see my personal collection in your pirate's treasure again, I will not hesitate to pluck every single one of your feathers. And then I'll use them to make a new feather boa. And you won't like what I do with it. Spuds and Joe gulp, nodding vigorously. Spuds, understood. Constance, loud and clear. No more privacy invasions. Joe Camel, wiping sweat from his brow. My sincere apologies. Doll, lesson learned. Never touch a lady's personal archives. Carmel Bunny, who had been calmly observing from the doorway, steps forward. Carmel Bunny, West Country accent, sultry and calm. Well now, all's well that ends well, eh? Though I must say, Constance, a little mystery can be quite alluring. Kathy, barefoot and unimpressed, shakes her head. Kathy, only in Rye would a stolen sex tape end in a violent melee involving a skeleton DJ and a sentient gummy bear. This town never ceases to disappoint. The group slowly disperses. Greg is left with a pile of shattered television and a very confused mother, who is now being gently consoled by Pat Clifton. Spuds and Joe are being led away by Sam Payton and Dawdle. Dawdle, you two are going to spend the next month doing community service. starting with cataloging every single legitimate tape in the Rye library, alphabetically, and then dusting them. Spuds. But my entrepreneurial spirit, Joe Camel, and my delicate constitution, all those dusty old books. Sam Payton, grinning slyly, think of it as rehabilitation, and if you miss a single one, Constance will be informed. Spuds and Joe visibly blanch. Constance, now completely back to her ditzy, sweet self, finds Daniel. Constance, thank you, Daniel, you saved my honor, and my reputation. Do you think anyone will believe it was just a misunderstanding? Daniel, managing a small, tired smile, in Rye. Constance, anything is believable, and nothing is. Later that night, Daniel is behind the bar. The pub is slowly filling up again. Bill Clutterbuck is back in his corner. Daniel, to Bill, just another day in Rye, I suppose. Bill Clutterbuck, nodding slowly, aye, lad, just another day, though that was a touch more exciting than usual. Good on you for stepping in. Spuds and Joe slink in, looking utterly defeated. They sit at the bar. Spuds, 2 pints. Daniel, on the house. For services rendered to the community, if you will. Daniel, raising an eyebrow, I'm pretty sure you're buying everyone around for services rendered to the community. Spuds, or rather, for the chaos you inflicted. Joe Camel, sighs. Fair enough. Bonnie lad, around for the whole pub, on Pirate's Treasure. Consider it a liquidation sale. The two hustlers look around the pub. Toad is already describing his heroic actions during the chase to an unimpressed Godfrey. Barney is showing his camcorder footage to a bewildered Corky. Trip is setting up a makeshift DJ booth. Spuds, suddenly perking up. You know, Joe, this whole video rental thing was clearly ahead of its time. But I was thinking, what about a pop-up arcade? Classic coin ops. Untapped market. Joe groans, exhaling a huge cloud of smoke. Joe Camel, don't even start. Spuds, just don't. Daniel shakes his head, pouring pints. He watches the bizarre inhabitants of Rye, a strange mix of exasperation and a growing, grudging fondness washing over him. He misses his family desperately. He misses the logic, the predictability, the relative calm of his own world. He looks up at the ceiling, as if staring through the flimsy roof of the pub and out into the vast, unknowable space beyond Rye. Daniel, whispering to himself, how do I get home? He sighs, then turns back to the bar, serving another pint to a grinning Toad, ready for whatever fresh, absurd drama Rye will throw at him next.